Imagine waking up one morning and feeling like something is wrong. You look in the mirror, but your reflection seems unfamiliar. You try to remember the name of a familiar person, but your mind is blank. You pick up your phone to call a loved one, but you forget why you wanted to do it. This is a scary and confusing situation, and it can happen to anyone. Many people believe that the aging process begins with wrinkles, but in fact, it starts with a deterioration in the clarity of thought. The saddest thing is that most people unintentionally speed up this process. There are dangerous mistakes hidden in everyday life that gradually destroy your mental abilities. But all of this can be prevented. Today, I will share 5 rules that are scientifically proven to help you maintain a clear mind even in adulthood. Many people ignore them, but these recommendations are what separate people with sharp and strong thinking from those who lose themselves over time. If you care about preserving your future, listen carefully. If you are interested in this topic, write in the comments "Clear Mind" and support our channel, Conscious Cognition, because your response helps create content that truly changes lives. So let's get started, but I will leave the most important rule for the end. It is number 1. This man was once renowned for his sharp mind and deep thoughts. He was respected for his intellect, but now he sits in a chair, confused, and forgets words in the middle of a conversation. He does not understand why his memory is weakening, why his thoughts are losing clarity, why he has become so slow. This is not just age, but the result of complex changes. However, almost no one thinks about what our brain feeds on. The brain is like a sponge that absorbs everything we give it. Localized name absorbs all the news filled with fear, incessant complaints of others, aggression, scandals, and negative talk. It is like information garbage that gradually poisons your consciousness. Research shows that if a person encounters negative information every day, his mental abilities decrease, anxiety appears, memory deteriorates, and thoughts become confused. However, the most dangerous thing is that the more negativity you consume, the more your brain gets used to it, like an addiction, and demands more and more. As a result, your mind stops noticing the beautiful. Everything seems meaningless. The future is gloomy and life is gray. But there is a way to break this vicious circle. You need to learn to control your sources of information, exclude toxic people, and consciously switch your attention to the positive. Your memory and thinking are the result of what you let into your head. However, even if you manage to protect yourself from negativity, there is another trap that most people fall into, and it destroys the brain even faster. This second danger is an emotional trap that accelerates the aging of the brain. Have you noticed how we easily forget pleasant moments, but negative experiences stay with us for a long time? One unpleasant conversation, a harsh word, or an accidental conflict. We replay these events in our heads over and over again for weeks, months, and sometimes years. Here's what's really scary. Every time you remember a bad episode, your brain re-experiences the same feelings, be it resentment, anger, or shame. Now imagine that there are dozens or even hundreds of such memories. This constant return to painful feelings destroys the psyche and prevents you from living a full life. An important process is happening with your consciousness. It is gradually filled with negative thoughts, forcing you to perceive the world in dark tones. Scientists have proven that negative feelings affect the brain like a toxic substance, causing long-term stress. Such a level of cortisol destroys memory and worsens mental abilities. Over time, a person becomes absent-minded, forgetful, and loses the ability to think clearly. But what is even more dangerous is that it changes the essence of personality. People stuck in memories of the past become irritable, withdrawn, and lose interest in life. They seem to refuse the future, remaining captive to old grievances. When you notice that you are replaying unpleasant events again, stop. Replace these thoughts with actions. Write down a plan for the day. Do something or talk to a loved one. Every time you choose to move forward, you strengthen your brain. However, even this is not enough, because there is another factor that literally shortens life: music. Now you understand how destructive the influence of negative emotions is. They accelerate the aging of the brain. Write in the comments, "Control over your thoughts" is your first step to understanding that you are able to control your consciousness and protect it from toxic memories. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe to Conscious Cognition and turn on the bell. Here we talk about how to maintain clarity of mind, energy, and mental abilities for many years. Remember, your actions today determine your future tomorrow. Even if you are just starting the path to inner peace, every forward movement is a contribution to a better tomorrow. Master your emotions. There is one habit that destroys your brain much faster, but almost no one realizes its danger. It is the third major risk factor, the forgotten key to clear thinking that most people simply ignore. Imagine two peers. One continues to amaze others with a sharp memory, is interested in technology and easily remembers new information, while the other constantly gets dates mixed up, forgets names, and can't even remember what he ate in the morning. What is the reason for the difference? It's not genes or chance. The difference is that the former never stopped learning. Our brain is like a muscle, and if you don't exercise it, it starts to atrophy, as if it were dying. This is a proven scientific fact. Research shows that people who stopped learning after age 50 are 5 times more likely to experience memory loss and dementia. The scariest thing is that when the brain stops receiving load, it loses neural connections. It's like you're cutting off a part of yourself, and your ability to analyze decreases, and the tasks become more and more difficult. However, this can be avoided. The most effective way to prolong the health of the brain is to maintain curiosity. Study new topics, try to remember more, master unusual activities. Even simply reading books or solving puzzles helps to maintain the functionality of the brain and prevent its degradation. But it is important to remember that even with active learning, there is one critical element without which it is impossible to preserve intelligence. This simple habit is a real defense against brain destruction. One person at the age of 70. Even in adulthood, the brain remains active if it is constantly in motion. Localized name notices that it is much easier to learn new things, while his peer has difficulties, forgets words, and loses interest in life. What is the reason for this difference? It's simple. One of them leads an active lifestyle, and the other remains sedentary. Scientific research has long confirmed the close relationship between movement and brain health. When a person does not engage in physical activity, the brain begins to experience oxygen deficiency, and blood circulation deteriorates. As a result, mental functions slow down. But the most serious thing is the accelerated aging of the brain due to lack of movement. Scientists from Harvard have found that those who do not exercise lose up to 10% of cognitive abilities earlier than energetic people. Think about how much time you actually spend moving during the day. You don't have to become a professional athlete. Just 30 minutes of walking is enough to improve your memory, increase concentration, and reduce the risk of dementia. However, there is another vital factor that cannot be overlooked. Even if you control negative emotions and exercise regularly, this does not guarantee success if you do not adhere to the key principle. If you understand how physical activity affects the brain, write the word movement in the comments. Youth gives a unique opportunity to remind yourself that every step and every movement strengthens the mind. Support the channel, Conscious Cognition, where you will find scientifically proven methods for maintaining mental acuity and energy for many years. And even if you already lead an active lifestyle, there is always room for improvement. Most advice can be useless if you do not follow the most important principle, without which the brain inevitably loses its abilities. The secret that allows you to keep your mind clear and active even in old age is the right focus of attention. People who maintain a clear mind do not just maintain clarity of thought, their intellect is constantly developing. What is the reason for their success? It's all about where your attention is directed, because the brain is like a compass pointing to the object of focus. If a person constantly dwells on fears, problems, and negativity, his mind is immersed in a negative perception of the world. But when attention is focused on knowledge, development, and creativity, thinking becomes much stronger. Scientific research proves that people who consciously control their attention and environment suffer from memory loss and cognitive impairment by 40% less often. The key is how you start your day. If the morning is filled with anxiety, thoughts about difficulties, or mindless scrolling through the news, the brain is set up for chaos. But if you ask yourself the right questions from the very morning, what do I want to do today? What do I want to learn? What inspires me? Then the mind will become sharper with each new day. You have a choice: to let time and habits destroy your mental clarity, or finally take control of your attention and keep your mind fresh for many years. Now the main question is, are you ready to implement these 5 simple rules in your life, or will you forget about them? After all, the mind is the most valuable resource you have. After all, money can be earned again, and physical fitness can be restored. But a clear mind is a priceless asset. It is possible to regain clarity of thought, but once your mind starts to fade, it will be extremely difficult to return it to its previous state. Now you have a unique opportunity to take advantage of knowledge. You have become familiar with 5 fundamental rules that help maintain clarity of consciousness throughout life. However, simply knowing them is not enough, because without practice, it is just a set of information. Those who apply these principles daily really feel positive changes. If you want your mind to stay sharp and strong, leave a comment with the words "clear mind." This will confirm your desire for change and give you additional motivation. Support our channel of conscious development by liking and subscribing. Thanks to your support, we can constantly share useful and valuable knowledge. Your future begins right now, and it is up to you to decide what it will be like: clear, conscious, and filled with wisdom.